Have you ever woken up between 3 and 5 a.m., mind wide awake while the world sleeps? It feels mysterious, almost divine. In Stoic philosophy, such moments aren't random, they're invitations. Signs. Not from fate alone, but from your deeper self, and maybe from God. While the world is wrapped in sleep, the earth is quiet, and the usual noise of life fades into a rare kind of silence. This isn't just a pause in the day. It's a space outside of time, a threshold. In Stoicism, we are taught that silence is not emptiness, but fullness. It is in these early hours that we are most connected to reason, most attuned to nature, and perhaps most available to hear the voice within. So when you find yourself awake in these hours, don't rush to fill the space. Don't scroll. Don't distract. Sit in it. Listen. The Stoics believe that nature gives us signs, and that we should not ignore them. Waking up during this time may not be mere coincidence or poor sleep. It may be a natural pull and opportunity for deep self-awareness. When everything external is asleep, the internal world comes alive. The thoughts we normally suppress start to surface. Questions arise that we don't ask during the chaos of the day. Am I living rightly? Is my mind aligned with virtue? Have I been honest with myself? To the Stoic, this is not a disturbance. It is a gift. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to embrace what the universe presents, no matter how unexpected. Accept everything which happens, even if it seems disagreeable, because it leads to the health of the universe. Even your early waking can be seen this way, not as a problem, but as a prompt. In the stillness, you are closest to what is real. The ego sleeps, the world's opinions fade, and you are left with yourself raw, unfiltered. This is the ideal time to practice what the Stoics called prosoche, or attention, a vigilant watchfulness over your mind. Without distractions, you can observe your thoughts clearly. Without judgment, you can see where your desires lead you astray, where your fears disguise themselves as excuses. This is also the hour of alignment. With the world quiet, you can better hear the rational voice that Stoicism teaches us to cultivate, the logos, the divine reason embedded in the universe and in us. In that voice, we find clarity, purpose, and peace. Not the peace that comes from comfort, but the peace that comes from integrity, from knowing you are living in accordance with your highest self. In these hours, you don't need to fix anything. You don't need to chase or solve. You only need to be present. Ask yourself, as Epictetus would ask, what is within my control right now? The answer is simple: your breath, your attitude, your presence. That is enough. The modern world fears stillness. It fills every gap with noise, but the Stoic cultivates it. Because in stillness, the soul recalibrates. You are reminded that you are not your stress, not your schedule, not your phone. You are something deeper. The early hours strip away all that is unnecessary. What's left is essential. What's left is you. So when you find yourself awake at that hour, don't see it as an accident. See it as an invitation. A quiet room with an open door. Go in. Bring only yourself. Leave behind the need to control. Listen. Reflect. Breathe. There is wisdom waiting in the silence, and often, that is when God speaks. When you wake in the early hours, your mind is bare. The layers of distraction haven't yet returned. There are no notifications, no noise, no demands. It is just you and your thoughts. And this, the Stoics would say, is where your true power lies, not in controlling the world, but in learning to govern the one thing that is always within your reach, your own mind. Epictetus said it plainly: you may not control the events that happen to you, but you can control your attitude toward them. In the stillness of 3 or 4 in the morning, this lesson becomes alive. You are not battling traffic or emails. You are face to face with your own inner world, your emotions, your regrets, your hopes, your fears. It can feel intense, even unsettling. But it is also pure. This is the best time to observe your mind, to notice what it clings to, what it fears, and what it creates. Thoughts are just that, thoughts. The Stoics remind us they are not commands, not facts, not truths. They are passing impressions, Some are useful, others are not. Your job, especially in moments of early solitude, is not to fight them but to study them. Ask, is this thought helping me live with wisdom, courage, justice, or self-control? If not, let it go. This discipline is not easy, but it is freeing. To the Stoic, freedom is not the absence of hardship but the mastery of response. You gain this mastery not once in a grand moment of triumph, but over and over, especially in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Waking early becomes not a burden, but a training ground. You are sharpening the most important tool you have, your mind. In this space, you can choose your inner direction. Do you rise with complaints or with gratitude? Do you resist the moment or use it to reset? The mind will often want to drift toward fear or fantasy, but you can bring it back. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And quality doesn't come from intensity, it comes from awareness, from intentionality. Each early waking is a small test. Can you sit with your mind without trying to escape it? Can you redirect a negative spiral into a productive thought? Can you remember that peace isn't found in perfect conditions but in a disciplined mindset? These moments may not be convenient, but they are sacred. They strip you down to the essential truth: you are not your circumstances. You are what you do with them. And when you can control your mind, you can face anything, whether it's a long day ahead or the quiet, mysterious darkness before dawn. This is the power the Stoics spoke of, not dominance over the world, but harmony within the self. And it begins, always, in your thoughts. In the still moments you were offered that choice. Take it. To wait before the sun rises is not a punishment, it is a summons. In those early hours when the world is silent and your mind is unguarded, there is a quiet voice that emerges, not loud, not dramatic, but steady. It is the voice that asks, are you living as you should? That voice, the Stoics would say, is not to be ignored. It is a call to self-mastery. Mastery of the self is the highest form of power. It is not about controlling others or manipulating outcomes, but about governing your own thoughts, emotions, and actions with wisdom and discipline. The early waking hours confront you with a choice. Do you fall back into unconscious habits? Or do you rise not just physically, but mentally, spiritually? Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, knew the difficulty of this. Even he had to remind himself, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. His work wasn't just ruling an empire. It was ruling himself. And that is your work too. Waking at this hour isn't about productivity for its own sake. It's about remembering your responsibility to yourself. In the clarity of pre-dawn, there are no excuses, no noise to hide behind. Just you and the life you're building, one decision at a time. The habits you reinforce in these quiet moments shape your character far more than the ones you show in public. Self-mastery begins in small choices. Choosing to sit in reflection rather than scrolling through your phone. Choosing to write, to meditate, to pray, to breathe. Choosing to examine your fears instead of running from them. These choices seem simple, but they are the foundation of a powerful life. The Stoics believed that virtue is the only true good. To be wise, just courageous and disciplined, this is the aim. And you cannot reach it by accident. You must train for it. Like a soldier sharpens his blade before battle, you sharpen your mind before the day begins. Those early hours are not an interruption, they are your training ground. You are being invited to rise above instinct, above comfort, above laziness. Each time you respond to that call with discipline, you become stronger not just in will but in spirit. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to live with integrity. That is the essence of self-mastery, to act not from impulse, but from intention. No one will see the work you do at 4 a.m. No applause, no spotlight. But you will know. And over time, those unseen hours will build an inner strength that cannot be shaken by the storms of the world. So when you wake early, don't reach for distractions. Reach inward. Listen. Rise. These moments are not random, they are reminders. You are being called, not to do more, but to be more. Answer that call. Become who you were meant to be. The day ahead is uncertain. You do not know what challenges will arise, what words will be spoken to you, or what trials will test your patience. But you do know this: it is coming. And how you meet it, how you stand in the face of both difficulty and ease, will depend entirely on how you prepare yourself before it begins. Waking up in the early hours, before the world demands anything of you, is not a curse, it is a moment of readiness. The Stoics saw life not as something to drift through, but as a kind of battle, not against others, but against the chaos within. In those quiet, pre-dawn moments, you are given the rare chance to equip yourself not with armor or weapons, but with clarity, discipline, and resolve. A warrior does not wait until the battlefield to sharpen their sword. In the same way, you must not wait until adversity strikes to find your strength. Epictetus taught that philosophy is training for life. When you rise early and choose to be present with your thoughts to prepare your mind and spirit, you are practicing philosophy in its purest form. You are building the discipline to respond to life, not just react to it. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be when the test comes? Do you want to be calm when insulted? Steady when plans fall apart? Honest when tempted to lie? These are not things that happen by chance. They are the results of preparation. They are the fruits of quiet discipline, cultivated in the unseen hours before dawn. The warrior knows that control over the outside world is limited, but control over the self is always possible. And so they rehearse in their mind what may come. They imagine loss, success, pain, pleasure, and they prepare their soul to meet it all with equanimity. Marcus Aurelius would begin his day reminding himself that he would meet people who were selfish, rude, or ignorant. But he also reminded himself that he could choose to remain kind, patient, and just. This is the mindset of a Stoic warrior, not one who fights with anger or force, but one who stands firm in virtue. Courage is not loud. Discipline is not glamorous. But in the quiet moments of preparation, they are formed like steel. You do not prepare because you are afraid, you prepare because you honor the life you've been given. You respect the responsibilities placed on you. You know that your actions carry weight. When the sun rises and the noise returns, it will be easy to forget who you are. But if you have trained your mind in the early hours, if you have centered yourself before the day begins, then no storm can truly shake you. You are ready. You are grounded. You move not with panic, but with purpose. And that is how you meet the day, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a warrior of the soul. Waking up in the still hours of the morning is not always something you plan. Often it arrives uninvited. You open your eyes, and the clock says it's far too early. The room is dark, the world is quiet, and yet something in you stirs. This is not just restlessness. It may be something deeper. In the Stoic view, it could be the universe calling you back into alignment. The Stoics believed in living according to nature, not just trees and seasons, but human nature, the deeper order of reason, conscience, and virtue. They called it the logos, a divine intelligence woven into the fabric of everything. And within you there is a spark of that same intelligence. When you drift too far from it, when you're misaligned in thought, word, or deed, life has a way of nudging you back. Sometimes gently, sometimes with a jolt, sometimes at 3:47 a.m. This waking is not random. It is a whisper that something within you seeks attention. Maybe it's the tension between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Maybe it's the quiet guilt of neglecting something meaningful, your purpose, your relationships, your growth. Maybe it's your soul trying to breathe in a life that has become too loud. To the Stoic, these moments are sacred. They are checkpoints. A time to ask, am I aligned with my values? Am I living according to reason, or am I driven by impulse, fear, and ego? These aren't questions for casual thought. They are mirrors. They demand honesty. In the clarity of the early morning, your mind is not yet covered by the day's distractions. There is space to think clearly, to feel what's true. And in that space, you have the opportunity to realign, not with ambition, not with external validation, but with a quiet, steady compass within you. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself that he was a part of a greater whole, that his life, brief as it was, had meaning only when it flowed in harmony with the greater order. You are the same. You are not separate from life. You are not drifting alone. You belong to this moment, to this breath, to the path that unfolds when you walk in truth. Waking early can be your signal to come back to that path, to pause and ask, where have I strayed? What do I need to let go of? What truth have I avoided? These are not punishments. They are invitations. The discomfort is not a curse, it is a sign of life calling you home. So do not rush back to sleep. Sit with the silence. Listen. Feel. Align. The world will pull you in 1,000 directions when fully it wakes, but for now you are being asked to return to what is essential. And when you do, you don't just move through the day, you move through it with meaning, with clarity, with peace. Because the most powerful life is not the one that moves the fastest, but the one that moves in harmony with what is true. There is a moment, when you wake in the early hours, where everything feels a little more fragile. The silence is heavier. The world, asleep and still, seems distant. You lie there, in the dark, with your thoughts wide awake, and something ancient stirs in you, not fear, but awareness. A quiet truth that so often gets buried during the noise of the day. You are not promised tomorrow. The Stoics did not run from this truth. They welcomed it. They meditated on it. They wrote about it daily. Memento mori, remember you must die. Not as a dark thought, but as a bright flame to light the path. Mortality, for the Stoic, was not something to fear, but something to use. To know you will die is to understand how precious this moment is. That waking at 3 or 4 a.m. is not a disruption, but a reminder. You are alive. Still here. Still breathing. The clock is ticking, and that should not make you anxious, it should wake you up, not just from sleep, but from distraction, from complacency, from the illusion that you have all the time in the world. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of an empire, reminded himself often that he could leave life at any moment. And so he urged himself to act with dignity, to live with urgency, not rushing, but with presence. You could leave life right now, he wrote. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This moment in the early hours is not meant for scrolling through your phone or numbing yourself back into unconsciousness. It's a doorway, a call. You're being given a rare opportunity to reflect. If today was my last, would I be proud of how I'm living? Have I loved well? Have I been honest? Am I spending my time on what truly matters, or am I wasting it on what doesn't? These are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones. And they become clear in the quiet. The ego softens. The noise disappears. All that remains is the truth, and the truth is this: time is your most limited possession. Every second that passes is one you will never get back. You cannot buy more. You cannot beg for it. But you can choose how to use what you have left. Seneca wrote that it's not that life is too short, but that we waste so much of it, that we act as if we will live forever, putting off our deepest callings, our hardest conversations, our most meaningful decisions. But the Stoic flips that narrative. They rise early, not just from their bed, but into their life, fully, gratefully, purposefully. When you wake in the early morning, see it as a sacred moment. Not everyone who went to sleep last night woke up, but you did. And that means your story is still being written. You still have time to change, to forgive, to grow, to let go, to begin again. That's a gift. That's a reason to live better, not tomorrow, but now. Let death be your reminder not to fear life, but to cherish it. Let it sharpen your focus, deepen your presence, and strip away what doesn't matter. Because when you remember that your time is finite, you stop wasting it. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop living small. And in that remembering, you begin to truly live.